That is Miss Monaghan's reel. Great standard session tune that for some reason I decided to play in B flat because this whistle was handy and I like playing it. It's just fun. We're going to learn this tune in the key of D. So grab yourself a D whistle, low D whistle, D flute, whatever you're feeling. Let's break it down. We are going to start with the basic melody, as we always do, get that locked down and then break down some of the ornaments and variations and all the other fun things that you can do with it. But here we go, starting with the A part, nice and slow. That's the first half of the A part. Hopefully you got that. We're going to carry on with the second half, then we'll chain it all back together, get a whole good run through of the whole lot. So here we go, second half. Most of this is going to be familiar. It's going to sound just like the first half, but we just kind of resolve it a little bit differently in the end. So here we go, second half of the A part. So again, really it's just that last couple of bars, I guess, last two bars that are different from the first half of the A part. So we'll run the whole thing all together. Here we go, again, nice and slow. Those of you paying super close attention will note that I took a breath in the second half of that, so I had to change up the melody a little bit, holding on a note, giving myself time to take a breath. Other spots are available. You don't have to necessarily take the breath in the same place that I did. That's just where it worked out for me. The B part in this tune jumps up into the second octave, spends a fair bit of time up there, so make sure you're really comfortable with your octave jumps and your good control over there. Let's dive in. Here we go, B part. First half, and again, just like the A part, the second half of the B part is going to be fairly repetitive. It's going to start the same way and just resolve a little bit differently, kind of like the way the A part did. Here we go, the second half. So the same kind of resolution that we got in the A part, right? Hopefully that's going to sound pretty familiar. Let's run the whole B part once through, nice and clean, nice and slow. Here we go. And again, sneaky extra breath in there in the second half of that, stopping, changing the phrasing up a little bit, holding that one note, just to give myself a chance to get that breath. Hopefully you got a decent handle on the melody now. Let's dive in with some ornaments and some other things that we can do to that. Starting again with the A part here, there's a triplet that is typically done on this tune, particularly by fiddle players and accordion players and non-flute whistle pipers, and it goes like this. So that's the start of the tune, rather than... So I'm throwing a roll in there in the A, which we'll get to in a second, but mostly I'm talking about the beginning. You can do that. That little triplet, it works. It doesn't really jump out of the whistle or the flute or these types of instruments just because of the physics of it. Like the top, the upper, The upper triplet that I've talked about a fair few times, that one really kind of barks out of these, and it works well. The lower hand triplet doesn't work as great, but it's still an option. And then as you come out of that, just a quick roll there on the A, and then a long roll on the B. That's typically how I'll play that. I'm trying to give it a little bit of that sort of stereotypical lift, and rolls are a good, easy way to do that. I'm really not doing a whole lot else through that whole phrase other than tonguing, bouncing between the top end of the lower octave and the lower end of the second octave. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm really just trying to accent the change in the individual notes. Really just tonguing to separate that and give it a little bit of bounce. And then as I finish the phrase, that's where I'll work in a couple of those ornaments, because we're just staying on the lower hand of the top octave. A couple of slides into the F sharp is just a really good kind of dirty sound. I think on the whistle, it just sounds great. And then a short roll on the E to finish the phrase. I find short rolls to be a really good punctuation mark, as a good way to tell people this is done, now we're starting something else, like a period at the end of a sentence. And then we carry her on back to the repeat of that phrase, and there's not really a whole lot else that I'm doing. You may have noticed that I held that note, held that second octave D. Experiment with that. Experiment with turning 2/8 notes into a single quarter note, and just holding that note through and seeing how that changes your phrasing a little bit. Other than that, the only thing I'm doing coming down is that earthquake ornament. I've mentioned that a fair few times in other lessons. As I go from B to A, kind of that walk down E part of the phrase, as I land that change, B to A, popping the top finger off. Right? That's how it sounds. And then a nice simple cut just to finish the phrase. We've got two Ds back to back. Simple cut just to separate them to kind of land the plane. When you jump up to the B part, there's a slide that starts it off that I think really works, because you're going more than an octave jump. You're finishing the A part on the low D, jumping up to a second octave F sharp. So you can slide into that F sharp, and I think it makes that transition a lot smoother and provides a bit more of that lift. Woo! And then as I come back from that A to B, doing that same earthquake ornament, which, as you noticed, I screwed up the first time. So be cognizant of that and make sure you can really hit it cleanly and be paying attention. Sliding into that G, because that's sort of the, not quite the hook, but it's something that's different about this phrase, I think, so I want to accent that. And you can do kind of a mirror of that, holding that second octave D, like we talked about in the A part. You can do the same thing here to kind of, again, mirror that. Same phrase there. Now you could do a short roll on the G, and I do like to change it. I'm not always doing the same thing every time, so I might slide into the G the first time, and I might short roll it the second time, like so. For the same reason, it acts as a period, a punctuation mark. So we're kind of telling the listener, this bit's over, we're coming around back to the A part maybe, so I would save it to the second time through. That's kind of some of the ways that I like to think about this tune. Anyway, let me know what y'all think of this one. It's a good standard one. I'm going to put a link to a recording in here from the version that I learned it from, which is Music at Matt Malloy's. If you want to deep dive this one, we do have that available on Patreon. Really dive into the excruciating minutia and some other ornamentation and variation options and all sorts of other stuff. Let me know what y'all think. I will see you guys in the next one. Cheers.